Hi, my name is Lacey, and today I am sharing a course that I've created. I did create this course on Rise 360, and I have it posted to Google Sites on my personal portfolio. For this course, there are 5 different lessons that include the first 4 lessons include assessments and activities, and then the 5th lesson is a reflection. For each lesson, I do have assessments. I do have formative assessments, and then for the 4th lesson, there is a summative assessment, and that is for the learner to actually create their own project. So I'll just start by going over all of the lessons here. So this course is called Level Up Learning, Engaging Instruction with Microlearning, Gamification, and Immersive Tech. And I've created this with the audience in mind being educators, and I've created this as kind of like a personal or professional development. So the first lesson here, we are just going over Level Up Learning, what it is, what we are doing in this course. Again, it goes over who this course is designed for, and it does go over the objectives. I do have 4 different objectives here. They include understanding the meaning of microlearning, gamification, and immersive technology, recognizing the advantages and potential obstacles of each instructional approach, examining real-world uses of these strategies in instructional design, and then creating their own short lesson using gamified or immersive features. For this entire course, I did try to do lots of interactive parts in each lesson. So example here would be key vocabulary, and I've created little flashcards. These are some key vocabulary that you will see throughout the course. As a learner myself, I really find interactive parts like this helpful. I feel like it helps myself really stick out with those terms and have those terms stick out in my mind. And it does go over the definition of those. And again, I try to do lots of different kind of interactive parts in it, just that you have to participate in to help keep the learner engaged and motivated. And then at the end of each lesson, I do have short formative assessments. This one is just a 1-question assessment. It is multiple choice. And I do have it so that the learner can pick the answer and submit, and it's going to tell the learner if their answer was correct or incorrect, and if it was incorrect, it's going to go over what answer is correct and why. So just examples here, and you can see that that's the correct answer, and it goes over why that's correct. And that is the first part of the course, the lesson 1. That's just kind of the beginning introduction. And then lesson 2, we do move on to microlearning. We discover what microlearning is and how the learner can use that in their profession. And again, more flashcards here because I do feel like they are super helpful. And then microlearning in action. Since the summative assessment in this is going to be the learner creating their own microlearning project, this is going to go over different steps that they will need to take to help them do so. So it's going to tell them like step 1, an introduction and your objectives. Step 2, your key concepts. Step 3, a practice activity. Step 4, an assessment. And that's just showing how the course should be organized. Again, some more interactives here, going over microlearning benefits and challenges. And then lastly, we do have another check for understanding. And again, this is multiple choice. This is all covered in the above lesson. And we can do, like, let's do a incorrect answer. And we submit it. Okay, it's going to tell you that it's incorrect, and it's going to tell you why that's incorrect, and it's going to give the learner a chance to take it again. I did develop this course so that The learner does not have to have every single assessment correct before moving on, because I want them to actually learn and be able to retake the test and discover why the answer is incorrect or why the answer is correct, and not just answer something and move on. And so this assessment that I have for lesson 2 does have multiple sections in it, multiple questions. And again, you can see how if you answer incorrectly, you can take again. And then we move on to lesson 3, which is just gamification and immersive tech, unlocking motivation. And again, it's just having the learning text, some interactive little guides here on the difference between gamification and game-based learning. I do like doing bullet points or numbers, so these stick out. These are just essential elements when designing gamification in the classroom. So this, I feel like, looks better and helps the learner really have these points stick out instead of it just being in one paragraph together. And then I did include classroom and professional development examples and how you can use microlearning. Just because I feel like it's really useful to see, for the learner to see how it can be used in real life. Again, more flashcards here to really kind of help with those key terms. Some more interactives for benefits and challenges of immersive text. And then lastly, we do have the formative assessment here. And it is more multiple choice, and it tells you why it's incorrect or correct, and again gives you the option to take again. And then I really did like this little part here as well. I developed this to be part of the assessment just because I feel like it's something a little bit different. It's matching the flashcards to the key term, and you see it will not let you put it in the wrong one. So it really helps the learner kind of engage and helps them, see which, these fit for the key terms. And again, just something that keeps the learner engaged and motivated. Okay, that was lesson 3. And then next we move on to lesson 4, which is kind of the meat of the whole course. And this is talking about how the learner is going to do the challenge, which the challenge is what we would consider the summative assessment of this entire course. So as it says, congratulations on reaching the final level. Now it's your turn to put everything you've learned into action. In this lesson, you'll get creative and design your own microlearning concept, applying gamified or immersive features. And this is your opportunity to showcase your skills, think outside the box, or earn recognition for innovative ideas. So for this challenge, I like the idea of 2 different ways, and I feel like it would be up to maybe the organization as a whole. So for example, if this were secondary teachers doing professional development, this may be an opportunity for them to create this and then maybe do a presentation with each other and share their gamification elements and lesson with each other. Versus if it's with a different type of organization, they may want to have the learner do this assessment and share it on like Padlet. And I did create a Padlet and linked it to this as well, so that like if a learner was doing this course, they could share their presentation in a discussion forum on a Padlet. And I also like that idea because it allows other learners within their organization to interact with it and get ideas from each other. So that would be a great option if maybe this was virtual and the team is not together. But again, this would be considered the summative assessment, would be creating this. And I don't have a set, I I think it just is gonna depend on the learner on how they go about designing this micro learning adventure. It does let you choose your own path, and it gives instructions. It gives you the introduction to micro learning design, tells you to select your audience. So it's going to tell the learner step by step how to do their project. But for this project, I would say it is just learner based. They can really kind of come up with their own ideas on how they are doing this. And then lastly, it says share your micro learning concept, which again, I've gone over if this is for learners in a virtual setting, maybe using Padlet to share their micro learning concept and interact with each other, or if it is an in-person kind of professional development, they can create this and share it in person. And then this goes over kind of an overview of a good way to set up their micro learning concept. So an example would be to list their audience, to list their topic, their engagement strategy, and then their lesson flow outline. So that way they kind of have an idea of how to set up this micro learning concept. Okay, and then the next step would be to share this idea. And again, I have a Padlet set up, so if this was for a virtual kind of setting, they could share their idea in this Padlet here, and it would send it to, post it to where the other learners in their organization could read it and participate with it in a discussion-like form. And then lastly, we do have a lesson 5, and this is going to be reflection and resources. So I would not consider this really an assessment, but I do think it is important to have reflections in a lot of learning and instructional design, because especially when you have a project, because it helps the learner kind of look back and see what they've learned, what they would do differently. And it goes over, again, key takeaways and reflection. And again, this would be a perfect opportunity to use Padlet and letting the learner reflect on their biggest takeaway and what they learned from the course. And again, I have that example here in the Padlet. Obviously, the organization could choose how they wanted the learner to do reflections, but I think a Padlet and discussion form would be ideal. And then I did include some resources that just kind of go over learning further and how they could further learn in gamification and microlearning. And that's it. That's the entire course. So thank you.